Everyone, I'm Jenna. I've got Crohn's disease, and today we're going to talk about what it's like to be in an interabled relationship. Now, if you don't know, that term just means what's it like to be in a relationship where one of you has a disability, whether that's a mental health condition or a physical disability or an invisible disability like mine, and the other partner kind of doesn't have that and doesn't have that experience. They're perhaps, perfectly healthy. And that's kind of the situation I'm in. I have Crohn's disease and that affects me in lots of different ways, but my husband is, touch wood, as we always do when you don't take your health for granted, perfectly healthy, and that does affect our relationship in lots of different ways. I thought I would talk about, first of all, about the beginning of a relationship and communicating that. And it's something I've got better about over the years, not just in terms of romantic relationships, but friendships. So when I had my son, I was opened up to a whole new world of friends through going to mum and baby groups. And unlike the first time around when I kind of made friends when I was first diagnosed with Crohn's, I was just a lot more open about it. And I think I'm in a good space now where I understand that my condition is part of me. It doesn't define me, but it is part of me. And just like there is all these other parts to me, like my dog, my child, my hobbies, my job, I talk about those things. So why wouldn't I talk about my condition? So my first piece of advice when you're perhaps approaching a relationship with somebody that doesn't necessarily get what it's like to be in a body that sometimes feels like it's not working is to be as open as possible. And sometimes that communication, it can be hard to explain. I can only talk from my experience, but I think sometimes it can be hard when you've got an invisible disability because you can't physically show what your limitations are. So if you first meet someone on a date, how can you explain to them how it affects you if you eat the wrong type of food, or if you can't access a toilet, or if your mental health is bad? I find it hard to explain. So I would say it depends on what you're dealing with, but I found finding information online and directing your prospective partner or friend or whatever to those resources can be really helpful. So for example, there's an app that's designed for people who have a loved one with Crohn's. They can actually download the app and go about their day and receive notifications that tells them about what their life would be like if they have IBD. So stuff like that is amazing because although it's good to talk, it kind of does the communication for you. So my tip would be, if you find it hard to explain, could you find some other resources that do the explaining for you? I think in terms of obstacles that can be hard to have in an interabled relationship, I mean, it's just like any relationship really. Communication is always an issue in relationships. So finding a way to communicate where you're at right now and what you need, and also boundaries. So, some people might, when they're unwell, not want their partner, just kind of want to be by themselves. Other people might want specific things from their partner. If you're low on energy, how can your partner understand that you can't go on a date, for example? So I think actually explaining your expectations and what you expect from a partner and, what your boundaries are is really important. Date nights can be done even if you're, especially at the moment, we're all at home anyway. But I think that's been really interesting because, for so long, loads of us with conditions haven't perhaps wanted to go on traditional dates that involve drinking or busy restaurants, because that can cause all sorts of issues if there's access issues, if the restaurant isn't accessible, or things like if you feel unwell in the middle of the date. So actually online dating and things like Zoom quizzes, I've been doing Zoom murder mysteries and things at home, all things like that I could see myself doing post lockdown, and I think that would be a really good idea to do if you're perhaps really nervous about going somewhere in public with your date. Another thing in terms of date nights is you deciding where to go. So it's such a simple one, but I would find that if my partner had sent me ideas and I'd be like, oh, I can't go there because I know there's no toilet there, or I know that it's a 30-minute journey on public transport, or I know that the menu is not suitable, rather than me saying no, 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 it's just so much easier if they let you choose. Obviously, it's nice to have some sort of surprise, but I think if you can just say, look, these are the things that I find really difficult. So how about I find a few restaurants and you pick from those? It can be so much easier. And most of the time, a good partner or a good prospective partner is just going to be so relieved that they found something that suits you, because we're going to probably talk about this in another video, but there's so many things that you do bring to the table, and it shouldn't feel as if you're a burden for asking to pick a restaurant that's accessible or asking to switch to another night because you know you're going to have no energy. They should want to accommodate you because you bring so much good things to their life as well, and that's what meeting a partner is all about. Self-esteem is really important when dating, and I think, you know, if you've just been diagnosed, for example, my confidence and my self-esteem really wasn't in a good place when I was first diagnosed, and you feel as if you can't make demands or you're a burden on people, and I think having that time to perhaps just practice dating or just practice conversations without any pressure on yourselves. I think if you've just been diagnosed with a condition or a disability, sometimes it's just about learning to figure out your own life first and not put pressure on yourself to find a partner. That's why I think things like dating apps can be really helpful to build your confidence and to just make connections. And then when you're in this place where you like, okay, I know what I want from a relationship, I know what my disability might impact, and I know how to communicate that to a partner, then you're just in such a stronger place. There is no reason your condition will affect the partner or the type of partner that you're with. And some people are in interabled relationships. Some people find that having someone with a similar condition or know what they're going through is also helpful. Just like all other aspects of love, there are so many different things that affect the partner that you're with. But I hope this has given you some ideas about approaching an interabled relationship. My top tips would be, you know, honesty and communication, figuring out what boundaries and kind of what things you need help with and what things you want to be left to do by yourself. Building your self-esteem and realizing that you are not a burden and that your partner would want to be with you for all of these amazing things. And I guess learning about what makes you you and all the other things that make you you, and just accepting that your condition is a part of that, and being creative about date nights. One thing I've found difficult about date nights is that I don't drink that much because it really makes my condition flare, and it's a lot easier now. There's like mocktail making kits, there's dry January and all these different types of alcohol-free drinks. So just being aware of the different adaptations you can make, whether it's an online date or whether it's you picking a restaurant or whether it's making mocktails rather than alcohol cocktails. Just being a little bit creative and coming up with some ideas that work for you both. I hope that's useful, and stay tuned to our channel for more tips about living as a disabled person and finding love.